Greetings, Galactic Jedis, freedom fighters, patriots from all over the world. How are you all doing on this beautiful Monday evening, April the 29th, 2000 and no, I'm sorry, April the 28th, my bad, 2025. And yes, guys, we are definitely on a trajectory, positive timeline trajectory. I hope you guys are having a wonderful evening. I do want to share some recent developments that was released by some whistleblowers revealing what's happening in Europe, especially with Mr. T's visitation to the funeral that took place a few days ago. This is all warfare. This is all strategy by the White Hats. I'm about to share it with you guys as well. But before I get into the geopolitical update, I do want to mention that first and foremost, I did have some technical difficulties in a couple of my classes this weekend. I think Saturday, the Ascension 2.0 class had issues. So it was asking for a passcode. I completely didn't know how to do that. My tech guy wasn't around. I was able to disable it a day later. And then also for our Cosmic Origin class that was supposed to take place yesterday at 1 o'clock Pacific time, 4 o'clock Eastern time, was also asking for a passcode. Luckily, those passcodes are no longer needed. All right, so we will resume class next week. We're going to start with class 1 for our Cosmic Origin Sunday at 1 o'clock, 4 o'clock Pacific, Eastern, and also for Saturday's class that started at 3, 6 o'clock Eastern time, I believe. For the Ascension 2.0, we're going to start with class 1. So I'm going to add an additional week due to the technical issues. All right, guys? With that in mind, for those that don't know me, my name is Ishmael Perez. I am the author of 2 amazing books. One of them is called The Secret Government Invincible Architects, and the other one is called Our Cosmic Origin, both which are revealing and restoring information that is very necessary for the times that we're living in. And yes, they are both available on Amazon. All right. Anything else? Any other announcements before I get right into it? So going back to Mr. T is kicking butts, and he is doing it, of course, for the Earth Alliance. So basically, what's been happening right now is when Mr. T walked into St. Peter's Basilica for the funeral of Caput Draconis, aka Pope Francis, it wasn't just another day of ceremonies. It was actually a battleground, okay? And what unfolded was a decisive, brutal strike against the rotting globalist order, and I'll explain why, that have apparently enslaved humanity for decades, okay? So while most world leaders showed up to the Vatican to grovel, to scheme, and to pose for cameras, Mr. T, on the other hand, came for war, and he wasted no time in exposing and humiliating, are you guys ready for this? French fraud Emmanuel Macron, the deep state's whimpering errand boy, all right? Inside the holy walls of the Basilica, which is a historic negotiation between Trump and inside the holy walls of the Basilica, a historic negotiation took place between Trump and Zelensky that was arranged by the White Hats, right? Apparently, they're about to replace Zelensky. A real attempt to pretty much create the peace under Trump's leadership outside of the bloodthirsty claws of NATO and the corrupt European Union. So, right on schedule, here slithered Emmanuel Macron. He walked into the meeting, the perfect representation of everything wrong with the world globalist obedience. He's a cowardice disguised as diplomacy, and he apparently exerts a lust for power at any cost. So Macron wasn't there to help, right? He wasn't there to pay respect. He was there to sabotage the talks and to inject the dying venom of the World Economic Forum into a moment that could actually change the future. So 3 chairs were set, only 2 mattered, right? Mr. T made it clear immediately that Macron wasn't welcome to that meeting between Mr. T and Zelensky. The media tried desperately to spin it, but they couldn't hide the raw truth that exploded across the globe. Lip readers caught every chilling word from Trump as he seized the moment, confronting Macron directly and without mercy. This is what Trump told him, quote, "You are not in the right here. I need you to do me a favor and you should get out of here." Okay? So apparently this wasn't diplomacy. This was the hammer of justice slamming down. Macron stood there, stunned, exposed, humiliated, and even the priest standing nearby, sensing the magnitude of what just happened, turned his head in shock, because what the cameras caught wasn't politics. It was the globalist empire crumbling in real time. Zelensky, the puppet president trying, excuse me, Zelensky, the puppet president trying to survive the collapsing house of cards, the elites built around him, knew better than to challenge Trump's authority. He nodded in agreement, acknowledging the real power had arrived, which is Mr. T, right? And it wasn't wearing a European Union pin or carrying a WEF talking point. It was standing in front of him, American. He was American and unstoppable. We're talking about Mr. T here, okay? So the 3 chairs were set, but only 2 mattered. And Mr. T made it clear immediately that Macron wasn't welcome. So, Macron stood there stunned, exposed, and humiliated. And where Macron, one second. So the implications are staggering, guys. The implications are staggering. Trump is actually orchestrating moves that will collapse what is known as the globalist war machine, bypassing NATO, the EU, and for those that don't know what the EU stands for, the European Union, right? The last bastion of the standing Holy Roman Empire and their blood-soaked profit schemes, and returning real sovereignty to the people, right? The same people that the elites have treated like cattle for decades. And as revealed in my book, the Secret Government, Invisible Architects, there is a word that the elites had for the people that were not part of their human reptilian association bloodline. And that's what the word that they used was known as goyim. And I talked about that in my book, right? The elites have always considered us cattle to themselves. And that's why they have exploited us for not centuries, but technically for thousands of years. So, and where was Macron after being kicked out to the curb? You know, some of you might ask. Well, like yesterday's trash, lurking in the crowd, trying to either his way into the background of historical photographs, desperate to make it look like he belonged there, but he really didn't. And the world saw it, you know. Macron's entire career has always been a fraud, right? He is no leader. We're talking about the French president here. He is a puppet installed by the Rothschild banking interest, a loyal dog of Davos, right? A man who betrayed France, or at least the independency of France, crushed its people under forced migration, medical tyranny, endless surveillance, and soul-destroying taxes. Macron has been a true dictator, right? His job has never been to serve the French people. Let's just be real here. It's been to enslave them for his masters, under the control of his masters of the IMF, the International Monetary Fund, the WHO, the World Health Organization, and of course, WEF, the World Economic Forum. All right, so when the real power stood before him, which was Trump, right? Unbought, he can never be bought, unbroken and uncontrollable by the elites, Macron withered like a spineless puppet he's always been. And this is just about one meeting that took place, right? This isn't just about one meeting. It's about a seismic shift in global economic power. So the world order Macron was built to protect is collapsing. The cabal that gave us endless wars, rigged economies, open border chaos, and global censorship is in panic mode because they know it. right? Ever since Mr. T came back 4 months ago, the alliance is now in full operation. The Vatican summits are no longer their playground. The deep state globalists can no longer hide behind the fake treatise and false diplomacies. Macron was sent in to disrupt the Trump-Zelensky negotiation because the globalists are terrified. They know that Mr. T isn't negotiating for headlines, that he's setting in motion the collapse of the entire empire, the EU, NATO, you guys know what I mean, all these globalist organizations. An empire built on blood, lies, and total control. So apparently this wasn't no accident. This was a coordinated hit against the heart of the globalist at one of their most sacred grounds, which is the Vatican City. All right. For those that have been awake for quite some time, you know that the Vatican City has always been considered the spiritual control of planet Earth, right? With London being the financial center of the shadow government of the Rothschilds, and of course, America, until Trump came into power, the military arm, right? Vatican City, the spiritual center of global power. Well, let's just call it the false spiritual center, the satanic spiritual center of global power. London, the financial center of global power. And of course, now the US is no longer the military arm of the Rothschilds because of Mr. T. Okay. So this apparently was no accident, guys. This was a coordinated hit against the heart of globalization at the most sacred grounds, right? Well, Trump knew exactly what he was doing, okay, when he went to that funeral. He didn't just exclude Macron, he publicly disqualified him, tore away the illusion of legitimacy, and exposed the globalist network for the paper tiger that it is. And the rats are running, okay? The media owned by the same scums scrambled to control the narrative. They buried the footage. They edited the images. And they told people that it was tense or awkward, but the truth is clear. It was a declaration of war. And that's the reason why I chose the thumbnail that I did, right? Trump with, amazing electrical eyes like thunderbolts, right? Like he's dropping the hammer on the globalist, right? I hope you guys like the thumbnail for this one. But that's what happened. That's what happened. Trump's message at St. Peter's wasn't just to Macron. It was to Schwab, Soros, Gates, Obama, and Clinton. The Vatican Black Hand Network. That's what they all are considered. The Vatican Black Hand Network. Nothing to do with skin color, because apparently these guys are not black, but it has to do with the black nobility that has been running the show for hundreds and hundreds of years, right? Under the control of the Rothschilds. So anyways, this wasn't just a summit, guys. Not just in politics, but not on this planet's stage anymore, okay? The era of the globalist is ending now. It's ending, okay? The future belongs to the free. And under Trump's leadership, the chains are breaking. The chains are obviously breaking. Zelensky is finished, and the entire world knows it. His handlers know it too, right? The EU rats, again, the European Union rats who propped him up have known this day was coming. And now even the Ukrainian people are beginning to realize that they were sold into a war, not for freedom, but for control. This war was never about borders or sovereignty. It was about keeping the globalist machine running at all costs. And Zelensky was their obedient frontman. But now, as of the 24th of April, 2025, the narrative has shattered. The curtain has been pulled back, and the actor has been exposed, both Macron and Zelensky. The U.S. military alliance, under the first hand of President, Mr. T, has flipped the script now on them. So everybody that is awakened, who knows what's really happening in Europe, right, knows that Zelensky was always a puppet, right, who overplayed his script. Let's just face it. The guy's an actor, right? It wasn't just literal that he failed in acting Then he became appointed president. He's really an actor, right? Backed by globalists like Keir Starmer, Emmanuel Macron, again, who is another another globalist, president of France, and then of course their bosses, the Rothschild cabals embedded in the European Union governments. Zelensky has been parroting the same nonsense since day one. His latest outburst, where he arrogantly declared that Ukraine will not legally recognize the occupation of Crimea, wasn't a statement, it was a signal. A last-ditch cry to his globalist overlords, begging for more funding, more weapons, and more bodies to throw into the grinder. Trump immediately shut him down, all right? On Truth Social, the real commander-in-chief laid it down, Mr. T. Crimea is not even on the table anymore. I'm going to quote what Trump said on Truth Social. It was lost under the traitor Obama's watch during the installation phase of globalist occupation via color revolution tactics, end quote. Trump's words were exact and surgical. Zelensky has nothing to boast about. Peace is on the table, right? Take it or lose everything. And again, I've been predicting that sometime this year, hopefully by summer, due to the fact that Mr. T is going to be putting an end to all the wars, he will be getting a Nobel Peace Prize. And I've been saying this for about almost a year now. And this isn't just talk, guys, all right? Mr. T is actually negotiating behind closed doors the way real peace is made, okay? His team, now fully reinstated, is in direct communication with both Russia and NATO aligned forces, exposing the black channels that have kept this war alive for corporate profit. Meanwhile, Caroline Leavitt, Trump's press secretary and one of the few voices not controlled by legacy media, dropped the real bombshell, all right? Zelensky was litigating peace through the press, false peace, right? A tactic straight out of the three-letter agency that starts with the C playbook used to collapse negotiation and justify escalation. But why? Well, because the military-industrial complex doesn't profit from peace, and they never had, right? As revealed in my book, The Secret Government. Every war that has ever happened for centuries was a war that always consolidated more power into the hands of the few, the black nobility, right? The secret societies, because that's how they've been profiting when you think about it, right? From dead bodies, okay? So billions of US taxpayer dollars have already vanished because of this into black box aid packages. Most of it hasn't even reached Ukraine. Let's just be honest here. It's been laundered through Western banks, NGOs, and slush funds that have now been tracked by Mr. T's quantum financial system. The quantum financial system that is already been activated, and it's tracing every dollar. Those found complicit, both American and European officials, are already under sealed indictments, okay, thanks to the QFS. So Zelensky's role was never to lead Ukraine. It was to sacrifice it, all right? It was to sacrifice it. The documents leaked from U.S. military insiders now circulating through classified briefings in Gitmo and underground tribunals confirmed that Ukraine was used as a testing ground for LABS, for AI warfare, for surveillance experiments on civilians under wartime law, all right? All facilitated by, right? I'm going to say his name, the grandson of Adolf Hitler, Mr. Obama bin Laden. Let's just call him that. Obama bin Laden. All facilitated by him and era contracts and extended by the Brandon regime, which is no longer in control. Thank God. So Mr. T's military alliance has intercepted communities between Macron's office and MI6 cells in Lviv and Odessa. These reveal plans to prolong war to weaken Russia before the global currency reset comes on. But Trump has already initiated the reset himself through gold-backed negotiations and EBS infrastructure being tested across all red states. Meanwhile, Dmitry Medvedev, a Russian former president and now deputy chair of their Secretary Council, is no longer holding back. He referred to Zelensky as a typhoid Lois, revealing what insiders have always known, that Zelensky has always been compromised, drugged, isolated, and being used as a symbol for chaos by those who know his time is up. And Medvedev wasn't speaking rhetorically, right? The drug trails leading into Zelensky's inner circle, managed by NATO advisors, have been flagged by Mr. T's restored military intelligence division. These advisors have not been seen publicly since early April. Their locations are believed to be within newly repurposed black sites in Poland and Romania, off books under U.S. jurisdiction. So apparently, even Zelensky's inner circle is defecting. Okay. Dixley Arestovich, one of Zelensky's top aides, dropped the hammer. If Ukraine doesn't surrender 4 regions now, they'll lose 8 within a year. And he's not exaggerating, all right? Russian forces, unspoken in mainstream outlets, have already surrounded key supply lines from the west. They could take Kharkiv and Zaporizhia in weeks if they wanted to. So Arestovich, again, one of Zelensky's minions or advisors, again, advisor, knows the real plan, right? Surrender 4 regions now, cut the losses, and try to salvage a new, leaner Ukraine that can be rebuilt. Not by the West, by Trump's post-conflict restoration plan, using relocated military aid redirected into infrastructure through the QFS. So apparently even his advisors are defecting and are now aligning with the alliance, okay? We're witnessing the end of the Roman Empire here under a new name, the European Union, okay? This is why the silence from Brussels is deafening, right? NATO knows that Zelensky is toasted, right? They're now working overtime to create Zelensky 2.0, a softer puppet with more appeal to the masses. But Trump's team already has names, locations, and financial records for everyone involved. The great audit has begun, right? Even Ukrainian MP Olensky Goncharenko has broken ranks. He admits it's over. He's openly calling for a freeze in operations and surrender to reality. No more performative speeches, no more last stand nonsense. His words were very crystal clear, right? The entire situation is FUCKED. I guess with, I'm just going to spell that, all right? And they're right. You know, Zelensky is now a liability to everyone within the UN involved. His theatrics are delaying the peace process while Ukrainian soldiers, many of them conscripts, are being used as cannon fodder. The elite are watching their investment implode, and they're terrified of what comes next, which is the truth. And this is not just happening here in the US. This is going to go global. The world is waking up, all right? So what happens now, they say? Well, Trump has drawn a hard line, except Trump gave him only one option: accept peace or collapse completely. This is what he told Macron, Zelensky, and the rest of the globalist puppeteers. And while the Brandon clone stumbles in front of blue screens, Mr. T is meeting privately with Russian, Polish, Hungarian, and Turkish military leaders under the Gesera compliant accords, brokered via encrypted military channels. The purpose is to end the war, rebuild Ukraine outside of the elite control, outside of NATO, and outside of the UN, making Ukraine independent, right? And expose every hidden hand behind this blood-soaked fraud. So the arrests have already begun. The tribunals are coming. Zelensky is finished. This is great news, guys. Mr. T is dropping the hammer on these globalists, all right? He reminds me of Superman and Zeus, right? Justice is coming. Anyways, a high-level military analyst embedded within the U.S. Army was also knowingly used by the Brandon administration to funnel critical national defense secrets directly to the global elites. This is another thing that just came out. Not from China, of course, but foreign spies, right? But the unelected puppet masters, the shadow hands behind every orchestrated war, every false flag, every manipulated collapse. This man, a snake in uniform, operated freely under Brandon's watch, right? And not only was he allowed, but he was also protected by them. Well, for nearly 2 years, it has been reported that he operated beneath the radar, hidden from standard oversight by special protection protocols that came directly from above. Clear signs that this was not a rogue agent, that he was a deep state asset, cultivated and deployed with precision. During the Brandon's term, this operative was involved in a full-scale information siphoning operation. Okay, he wasn't doing this for a few $1,000s. He was a contracted weapon, a handler, approved insider tasked with helping the elite dismantle the last standing barrier to globalist domination, which is the US military, which is now in the control of the alliance. Okay, so this is what was leaked. This is what was leaked regarding this traitor under the Brandon administration. Active deployment orders in Europe for NATO aligned forces, internal reports on US missile defense vulnerabilities, lessons from Ukraine that were being repurposed for a future war in Taiwan. All right, that was next. Counter UAV strategies developed for high-intensity global conflict, intel on U.S. satellite operations and classified systems like HIMARS and THAAD, T-H-A-A-D, and doctrines involving the defense of specific territories. It's Pacific territories. Doctrines involving the defense of Pacific territories, including covert operations not known even to sitting members of Congress, okay? This wasn't just intelligence leakage. This was a takedown strategy, guys. So all of it handed over to the handlers, right? A web of international elites that includes elements within the WEF, the World Economic Forum, rogue intelligent factions, and compromised military brass who sold out to ensure the global reset agenda had no resistance. So, but here's where the script flips. Are you guys ready? The Trump military alliance, now operating in full force behind the scenes, tracked this agent. Surveillance was launched quietly, not through corrupted alphabet agencies, but through the restored patriotic function of the U.S. military intelligence. Digital forensics, decrypted communications, dark web signal interceptions, right? And this is what they found. They found that the operative, once supposedly sentenced under the public justice system, was never truly incarcerated. He actually disappeared into the black corridors of the system, placed in a secure location by the order of Mr. Brandon, the DOJ, and kept off the books so he could continue serving the global elites. So he was never in prison. Okay, that was a lie. He was actually protected. He was in deep protective cover, let's just say it that way, still transmitting high value military intelligence, posing as a reformed man while quietly orchestrating insider sabotage within the Department of Justice. And what triggered his final capture was a military sting operation initiated by the White Hats during a strategic audit of defense intelligence anomalies tied to Indo-Pacific commands, A pattern emerged. Select documents were being decrypted and replicated, but only from classified networks that only a very specific set of cleared individuals could access. So he was back at it, apparently, this treasonous character, but only this time his handlers were preparing to accelerate the timeline. The elites knew that Mr. T was returning, and they knew that the takedown. So even the elites knew that Mr. T was going to win the 2020 election. I mean, the 2024 election, guys. That's how for sure I was when everybody thought that they were going to steal it. Even they knew, the globalists knew that they were done with. So they knew that the takedown was coming. They needed chaos, and this asset was about to deliver it. This guy, right? But before he could strike, he was interdicted, extracted under cover of night, and flown directly to Gitmo, which is a good thing, right? Now a fully reactivated military tribunal facility used by the Trump-aligned command for high-level traitors and enemies of the Republic. Insider sources confirmed that he has already began spilling the names of co-conspirators. One second, guys. Insider sources confirm that he has already began spilling the names of co-conspirators, and they're not low-level traitors. We're talking about active members of the Joint Chiefs' top-level civilian defense contractors and several key figures still embedded within the intelligence community, all of whom were helpful or helping funnel America's strategic advantage into the hands of the global reset architects. So to break it down further, the Brandon administration knew what he was doing. They authorized it the whole time. Multiple whistleblowers have come forward indicating that this operative was flagged in 2023 by internal cybersecurity teams, but each warning was dismissed by high-level defense officials under the excuse of national security compartmentalization, which was obviously a cover-up. So every attempt to stop him was actually shut down. Requests to transfer him to a restricted post were denied directly by the Pentagon under Lloyd Austin's corrupted leadership. One digital operations officer who tried to report him was reassigned and silenced under the guise of a medical review board. Another disappeared entirely. Well, this is how deep this went, guys. But there's the final blow, okay? Documents recovered from his encrypted device did show communications not just with globalist think tanks, but also with known UN-connected intelligence NGOs operating inside the U.S. under the disguise of humanitarian and climate groups. Well, these nonprofits were acting as backdoors for elite data laundering, and this traitor was their conduit inside the military. So apparently he was planning a final upload and an archive of over 700 gigabytes of classified information targeting not just military technology, but also key protocols for continuity of government during wartime. All right? Presidential emergency powers, and even the locations of elite bunkers meant for continuity of the deep state cabal in case of collapse. Insider sources did confirm that he was already begun spilling the names of the co-conspirators. And they're not low-level traitors, guys. We're talking about active members of the Joint Chiefs, top-level civilian defense contractors, and several key figures still embedded within the intelligence community, all of whom were helping funnel America's strategic advantage into the hands of the global reset architects. So apparently the Brandon administration knew what he was, what they were doing, right? But luckily, many whistleblowers have come forward indicating that this operative was flagged in 2023. So every attempt to stop him was shut down. But here's the final blow, okay? Documents recovered. Apparently, the documents that were recovered by the Alliance using the QFS were able to track him and arrest the guy. So apparently the guy has been taken out and has been taken to Gitmo ever since. So, yeah, I really wanted to share that with you guys because, there's been a lot of things that have been happening from behind the scenes regarding Mr. T's takedown of the entire globalist agenda, the dismantling of NATO, the dismantling of every globalist organization, the way he was talking to Macron, when he was supposed to have a formal meeting with Zelensky about ending the war. And, they were pretty much dropping the hammer on Zelensky to end the war. He had no other option. You either end the war or we take you out. Pretty much that's what was said. And Macron was trying to kind of butt in, but Mr. T told him to get the heck out of there, And I'm starting to wonder because there's also been a lot of reports that there's been a lot of blackouts in some of the European countries in the last, 24 hours. Lights have gone out in Germany, Spain, France, New Zealand, I believe, Australia, not Australia, Portugal, just to name a few. So the reason why all of these blackouts are happening in Europe right now, let me tell you guys why, is because this is a white hat military operation to literally take out every single globalist key player. Okay. We are now seeing the fall of the Holy Roman Empire, the European Union, the New World Order. It is not going to happen anymore, guys. Right now, the white hat military is causing all these blackouts in order to take down every single individual that has been an operative of these globalist insiders or these globalist networks. So that's the reason why the blackouts are taking place. It's not happening by chance, right? It's happening by intelligent design in favor of the white hat military. So, yeah, let's take some Q&A. I see some people there on the chat. Let's see. I'm going to go ahead and give some shout outs to Leslie Cunt Life is in the house, Wes Acton, Lee Starr, Royce Toys and Comics, Sun Moon is in the house, New York, Laurel Ann Brown, Richard Gebert, Paul Schaefer is in the house, Cosmic Zeal is in the house, Emmanuel Openman is in the house, Leah Archer is in the house, Andromeda Daisy is in the house. Who else is in the house? Starlight. The chat's going so fast. And everyone else, all 2,634 people that are all in the house. Now, you know what would be amazing is that if all 2,600 of you hit the like button right now, if you guys could all hit the like button, oh, that would be awesome. I see a lot of love here, a lot of hearts coming out. Thank you guys so much for being here. I appreciate each and every single one of you guys. As mentioned, I do read the comments, right? I'm sorry I don't have time to respond to all 800 comments, 500 comments. At times, it's just too many of them, but I do read them really quick. I'm a speed reader when it comes to it, so I'm able to read all the comments. And one question really appealed to me. one of you galactic Jedis wanted to know who created the aliens. Who created the aliens? Well, that's very simple. One of the things that I propose in our cosmic origin, which is my groundbreaking work, restoring galactic information back to the Earth and Earth's place in the organized multiverse, is the fact that the one creator, prime creator source, is the God of all alien species, right? I've already mentioned that the majority of alien life forms are human-like. They look like us, we look like them. And that explains why a lot of them, when they come in their ships, they look like future version of us. And technically they are. But the whole point is this. Every living, sentient, organic life form out there, whether they are humanoid or not, we're all created by the one God. So it's one God that created all the alien races, all right? So I wanted to address that question because, one of you guys wanted to know who created the aliens, right? Well, the one God created every single life form in the multiverse. And for the most part, about 69% of organic sentient life forms are actually human, right? They are human. So what that means is that they look like us or we look like them. We look like them, they look like us. It's the same thing. So if you guys have any questions for me, go ahead and type them in capital letters so I could address them. Janice Shaw, thank you so much for the super chat, sister. I appreciate that. No question, though. Again, I had 2 technical issues for my Saturday class, Ascension 2.0, and also for my Sunday class, our Cosmic Origin, my 1 o'clock course, 4 o'clock Eastern time. I was able to actually disable the passcode. So we're going to start class 1 next Saturday and Sunday. For those that weren't able to access it due to the technical issue where it was asking for a passcode, I was finally able to have my tech guy disable it. I couldn't get a hold of him, but he finally disabled it. And so we're going to resume class 1 next Saturday for Ascension 2.0, and then next Sunday for our Cosmic Origin, okay? So thank you guys so much for being patient. And I did email everybody back that, we were going to resume class 1 next week for those that had technical issues logging into the webinar, right? So there is no more passcode needed. If you guys want to, go ahead, click on the links right now, and it'll just take you directly to the Zoom. You guys could give it a test drive here, or a test try, so you can see that it's no longer asking for a passcode, right? So yeah, I apologize for that. I'm starting to think, guys, because I've never had this issue before. So I'm starting to think that the AI working through my laptop, working through my cell phone, is literally trying to mess things up for me, So yeah, I am starting to think that AI is the one who put the passcode to create conflict, to create strife, to create, whatever happened. But we were able to disable it, luckily, thank God. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and take some Q&A. You guys know the drill. Type your questions in capital letters, and then I will address those. Question. Okay, this is about the blackouts. Are you talking about the blackouts in Europe? Let's see. This is a question from Maria Lashley. Welcome, Maria Lashley. She's saying, with the blackouts, let me see. With the blackouts, will that spread to the rest of Europe in the next few days or hours? There is a huge likely possibility that it will, because this is a White Earth Alliance military operation to finally put the coffin, now that the Caput Draconis, the head of the dragon, is gone. Well, the actor, right? The real one was taken out years ago. Now this is the time that they're going to put the coffin of all of the lackeys and key players within the globalist networks. So there is a strong chance that the blackout's going to reach all of Europe. Well, let me just put it this way. It's just going to reach those countries that are part of the European Union. All right, not the independent countries that are not NATO associated, but the countries that are part of the European Union. I just want to make that clarification. So that could likely happen. Yes, the white hats are dropping the hammer down right now. But again, this is going to be taking place worldwide, not just in Europe. But it so happens that Europe has been like the heart of the New World Order, the heart of the revived Holy Roman Empire. So that's why it's happening there first, okay? Is Chat GPT, all right, this is a question from M Star. Is Chat GPT now part of the positive organic quantum and not the negative AI? No, Chat GPT is not organic sentient. It is artificial. It is part of the negative AI, to answer your question. Good question, though. All right. What will become of those in prison? I knew I was going to get this question. I knew I was going to get this question. I might as well address it. Okay. This is a question from Alfonso Jackson. What will become of those in prison? Well, remember how I'm talking about the brainwave therapy coherence technology that's going to be rolled out in conjunction with the med beds? Well, a lot of those people in prison are either suffering from mental illness or were just influenced from an early start in their life into a negative type of lifestyle where they had to steal, rob, join gangs just to fit in, because their family was a part of that. So, or they were just victims of drug abuse that caused them to do what they did, that landed them in prison. So because of that, a lot of them are going to be mentally rehabilitated through these technologies so that they could become better people, so that in the new earth there will be no prisons. Right? People are going to have the ability to be rehabilitated mentally and emotionally so that they could actually live in harmony and in cooperation with the rest of us. So that's what's going to be happening to those in prison. Thank you for asking that question. Thank you for all the love. I appreciate that, guys. You guys are awesome. What's going on in Mexico? This is Leticia Ayala Flores. What's going on in Mexico? I see a huge military presence in Baja border. Well, to answer that question, Leticia, that's actually a very good question. There is a full scale out war taking place right now between the Earth Alliance and the cartels. And this is not just happening in Mexico, Leticia. This is going to be echoing and happening worldwide. And that explains the fall of the infamous Italian mafia, the Cosa Nostra, and all the Dons and the Capones and all that stuff. They're all about to face justice. And yes, a lot of them are going to Gitmo. So that's what's happening in Mexico, is that the U.S. military under Trump is about to launch a full-scale war using drones to take out all of their sites and all of their hideouts on the Mexican mafia and the Colombian mafia and all of the cartels. Just be honest, all of the cartels are about to be dismantled by the military alliance. And for those that have read The Secret Government, right, all the mafias, including the Godfather of Italy, right, they're all working within the secret society known as the Knights of Malta, which was an extension of the Jesuit order. They were all operating under the Grey Pope, Pepe Orsini. So now that they already took out Pepe Orsini, now they're going after all the organized crime networks. Ishmael, thank you. I appreciate. Okay, this is a Patriot for God. Thank you for your super chat, brother. Ishmael, thank you for the class is set up for 3 p.m. start with no passcode. Thank you. Oh, yes, like I said, that was AI. I believe it was AI because I've never had that issue before. I've been teaching these courses for almost 2 years. And this weekend, for the first time, it was asking just for a couple of classes, not for all the classes. It was asking for a passcode. So we were able to fix that for you guys. Sorry it took long, but again, my tech guy was out of town. I couldn't get a hold of him. And so Now we're going to go ahead and resume class next Saturday and Sunday from class 1. So that way you guys could get all 4 sessions. So thank you. You are very welcome. You are very welcome. I'll just take the questions from my phone so I don't have to get so close to my monitor here. It's giving me a headache. All right, so here are the questions. Oh no, those are last week's questions. Where am I? Oh, there I am. 1 second, guys. I'm gonna access the questions through my phone, so it'll be a lot better. Greg, thank you so much for the super chat, brother. I appreciate that. And your question is, did the Jesuits create the story of Jesus in the New Testament? Great. That is a very, very good question. And the answer to that is no. The best way to say it is this. Contrary to what some of the truthers have said, or people that are involved in the disclosure, Jesus was a real man, and he really existed, and he was a real person. He was the universal mind of our Creator embodied in the flesh 2,000 years ago. Okay, so it's not a fabricated story. All right, I just don't agree with organized religion. All right, but there was a factual man by the name of Ben Joshua, who they call the Christ, who was the leader of the order of the Essenes, right? Of the Therapeutae. The Therapeutae was the Egyptian branch of the Essenes, the healers, right? Which was a mystical, benevolent secret society that isolated itself from the rest of the Roman world and hid in the caves of Qumran. They were known as the Essenes. So Jesus and Mary Magdalene were the head priest and the high priestess of the Essene Brotherhood and Sisterhood of healers. So he was a real person. Yes, he was. Michael Greer is asking, will AI keep taking jobs? And the answer to that is AI is only going to proliferate and continue advancing in the technocratic dystopian timeline. All right. Right now, that timeline is coexisting with the organic ascending timeline, but within the matter of a year or less or 2, sometime between now and 2028, because that's when this current reality construct comes to an end, right? There will be a bifurcation, a split in timeline. So only within the technocratic dystopian timeline will AI continue to advance and become more prominent. Okay, which means yes, taking over the workforce and eventually taking over the earth, but not in the new earth timeline. Let me repeat that: not in the organic ascending positive timeline. Okay. You guys have a lot of good questions here. What about Sunday Ascension Basics? Also, YouTube is advertising every 5 minutes. Is Cabal doing this? Yes, Ascension Basics on Sunday was also, you could say, hijacked by AI asking for a passcode, and I couldn't disable it. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to start a whole new class. No, I'm sorry. Only a few people were able to get in. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to start class 2 Sunday. And for those that couldn't get in for class 1 Sunday, Ascension Basics, we're going to do the second hour. I'm going to do the second hour, class 1. So you guys are going to get both class 1 and 2 on Sunday, okay? Thank you for addressing that, brother. But again, I was able to disable the passcode. Oh, really quick, guys. Folium PX, right? The #1 product out there that gets rid of all the radiation, all the nanotech, all the metals in your body, the graphene oxide, all the bad stuff. I do have the link in the description, guys. All right, so make sure that you guys go through the link, put Perez25 to get that $15 discount, which is really you're getting free shipping and handling if you put my code. So I know that some of you guys have been ordering the product. I've been taking it once again now for a month, and I'm seeing the results. So Jesus, aka Joshua, was born of earthly parents, not of God and Mary, right? No. The truth of the matter is that his mother was human, but his father was a celestial, was not human. So Jesus was part human, part celestial. Okay, he was one of the first star seeds. So I guess that's the best way to answer that question. I believe it was Gabriel who fathered Jesus. Gabriel, Archangel Gabriel, is the one who impregnated Mary to give birth to Jesus. So his father was a true celestial, right? And what we would now call an interdimensional extraterrestrial. But think about this, guys. The idea of extraterrestrial beings or celestials impregnating humans is still recurring, all right? How do you think they created some of the super soldiers within the program known as Radiant Guardians, right? Just to give you guys an example, a lot of those members within Radiant Guardians were part human, part celestials. They were impregnated by extraterrestrial beings. So this phenomenon still continued into the present when it came to the development of the super soldier programs, okay? So yes, Jesus was part human, part celestial. He was a demigod. Okay, so Portal Off Wonder is asking me, what is the definition of a starseed if everyone is not originally from Earth? That is a very good question, brother. Portal Off Wonder. I actually, on my last live this past Saturday, I broke down what a starseed is. But originally, no. The original humans came to this planet from other solar systems. Our ancestors originated in Lyra. So not everyone's from this planet. However, the star seeds are beings that are descending from the top down. Okay, we did have another group of beings that were known as the primitive stock or the original indigenous, and those were the ones that evolved out of Africa. The Homo robustus, the Homo africanus, the Homo erectus, the Homo neanderthalis. Okay, those are the beings that evolved, the original beings of this planet. But the other entities or the other beings that were known as the Atlanteans, the Lemurians, they came from the stars. So technically, these are the advanced souls. So a starseed, by definition, is an advanced soul that has once again incarnated in human form. Very good question, brother. But again, I strongly recommend to watch my Saturday Night Live where I break down the entire starseed envoy program. That live was jam-packed with information, guys. All right, I have another super chat from Spark Leah. She says, if we do not live in a state with medbeds, can we travel to use them, or will it be for residents only? Good question. No, everyone is going to have access to the medbeds, okay? Not just, okay, yes, they're going to begin within a few states, but eventually they're going to open them up all over the country and hence all over the planet. So everyone will have access to them. But again, guys, if you ascend into the 50 Earth, you won't need a medbed. You'll be able to heal yourself. You'll be your own medbed, all right? Mainly the medbeds are going to be applicable within the 4th D Earth timeline, which is, again, a better world than this one. It's a Star Trek civilization. But those that go into the 5th D Earth timeline, you won't be needing no medbed. Now, you have different questions too. Any insight into the big earthquake in San Diego a couple weeks ago? Yeah, I know. I heard about that. I was actually in Vegas there for a huge interview that I did. But, that earthquake, like most earthquakes these days, was probably not of natural cause. Maybe it was some sort of, white hat operation to take down an underground base. Who knows? But I did hear about that earthquake. Thank you so much for being such a shining light of hope, soul brother. Oh, you are welcome, soul sister. I appreciate that compliment. How do they come to pick the first 4 states? This is a question for the medbeds, of course. This is a question posed by, is it KDS? Because those are the most conservative red states where it's least dominated by the far left liberals, okay? Texas, Tennessee, Florida, and the other one was, I believe, is Wyoming. Right, so those are the 4 states that are strong red states. Right, they don't really, even the congressmen, the senators from those states are non-deep state players. So that's the reason why they're going to roll those out in those 4 very strong conservative states, and then they're going to roll them out elsewhere, everywhere else. Good question, though. Do Pleiadians have dogs? Okay, this is a question that I've never been asked before. This is a question from Wang Chuck. Welcome, Wang Chuck. And the answer to that is absolutely. Yes, Pleiadians also have animals and pets. Yeah, they do. Oh, this is a good one from FLA Patriot. Welcome, FLA Patriot. Is the second coming of Christ the Great Awakening, the Christ consciousness rising in all of humanity? Yes, that is the true definition and meaning of the second coming of Christ. So many Christians waiting for the return of Jesus Christ. Yes, unfortunately, organized religion, which was again created by the Anunnaki, the Luciferian Anunnaki, Enki and Marduk, really did things to mess things up. Right, when they created religions, they wanted people to worship the gods, and then they consolidated it to the one God. And now it's like we're all confused regarding the second coming of Christ, when even in the words of Jesus himself in the book of John said that when the time comes, not only will you do as I do, but you will do even greater things, which he was actually revealing that we would all be becoming like Christ in the in the end of days, which is now. Yeah, that's a very powerful thing. So to answer your question is yes, the second coming of Christ is the activation of the Christ mind in all of you. I do have another super chat from American NDN. What do we need to take with us to the redemption centers? Your ID, your passport. Anything else? Just that, right? Just your ID and your passport.
All your bonds.
And all your bonds,
like
of course.
Yeah,
like your birth certificate.
All your currency you want to exchange.
Like if you have any like dinars or Zim, take all of that, because that will all be exchanged at the centers. Good question, sister.
Pages of your projects.
And then, of course, you have to have pages of your humanitarian projects, because that's what they want to know. Why are we going to give you millions of dollars? What is your humanitarian project?
You might need a utility bill to prove your address.
And of course, you might need a utility bill to prove your address. Thank you.
And don't bring your cell phone.
Oh, and you can't bring your cell phone to the redemption center. But you can take notes. Thank you. Mm-hmm. You see, she knows more about this than I do. All right. We're talking about my girlfriend here. Okay. So blackout, Spain, Portugal, France, again, the reason these blackouts are taking place is because of what happened when Trump went to the Pope's funeral. He had a meeting with the last of the deep staters, especially Macron, who is a huge deep stater, to pretty much end their game, to let them know that, hey, you guys are done with. The war ends now. And, he gave them no choice. He says, you either end the war or we take you guys out. That's what Trump told them. So that was kind of cool, right? For those that are just jumping on the live, I suggest to watch the live from the beginning so you guys could see exactly what happened in detail. Ishmael, what are your feelings about David Quigley, who claims to be the real JFK Jr.? I've never even heard of David Quigley. Oh, is that? Oh, the writer of Stolen ID. You know what? Stolen Identity. Honestly, guys, he could be right. All right, he could be right. I'm not sure, but I'm gonna have to look into that. What time will Sunday Ascension Basics start? This is a question from Ronald Shinnick. Let me find out for you, brother. 1 second. Let me go into my website. Sunday class. Ascension Basics on Sunday. All right, so that class on Sunday starts at 3 o'clock Pacific time, 6 o'clock Eastern time. So that class on Sunday starts at 3 o'clock Pacific time, 6 o'clock Eastern time. All right, next question. Maria Lashley is saying, Ishmael, thank you for answering my question tonight. I am so very grateful to have found your channel. Everything is making sense now. And, oh, I just lost her. Where is it at? Darn commercials. Even I get commercials, huh? Oh, there it is. Everything's starting to make sense now, and I am realizing everything we've been taught is the opposite. That is so, so true, Maria. Everything that we've been taught, from organized religion to conventional institutions, the educational system, has all been designed to numb us down, to keep us in a very low frequency, in ignorance, pretty much, in ignorance of the truth of our origin, where we come from, the truth of the cosmos, the alien factor, you name it, all of that. So that is so, so true. Patty Birchwell is saying, what if we don't have a humanitarian project? Well, Patty, if money wasn't an issue and God came to you and said, what would you do that would help the world? Ask yourself that. Really, I want you to brainstorm tonight. You have homework. I want you to ask yourself, if God came to you and said, if money wasn't the issue, here's $10 million, what would you do with that money to help the world, to help me bring forth the kingdom to earth? That is the best way to ask yourself.
You don't have to have one. Some older people, they don't want to do it. You don't have to have one. But if you do one, you're going to get better contract rates.
Okay, so from what I was informed, because my girlfriend studies this more than I do when it comes to the GCR and the RVs, is that...
Can I say it?
Yeah.
Some people, if they're like older, they want to retire, they don't want to bring in a humanitarian project, they don't have to. But the fact of the matter is you're going to get a better rate if you do have a humanitarian project, and you're also going to, be benefiting, being a positive influence over the world. So it's suggested that you have one, but if you're too old or you're dysfunctional about it, it doesn't need to be brought in. It's just better for you to get an exchange rate.
Yeah, apparently, if you do have a project, you get a better exchange rate. So, but everyone's going to get, again, money in abundance. Let's see. Let's continue here.
Or you can donate to other projects. They'll have a list of people that have companies that they need help for.
Can you explain Q? Thanks, Ishmael. This is a question from Nathan Bushy. Welcome, Nathan Bushy. Well, the Q operation was started when Truman sold us out to the Draco before Eisenhower. So by the time Eisenhower got into office, the U.S. military-industrial complex, under the control of the shadow government, was already under the indirect, you could say, dominion of the draconian reptilians. So what ended up happening was Eisenhower initiated a plan that is about this thick long, thousands of pages, which was later recuperated by Hugh, what's his name? The big aerospace tycoon. Edward Hughes? No. The big aerospace tycoon. I forget his name. Come on, Howard Hughes. There we go, Howard Hughes. But it was originally established by Eisenhower and Commander Valiant Thor. And that plan was to once again restore the constitutional republic and liberate the world from the reptilian draconian control of the planet. And that's the origin of Q. So apparently JFK Sr. inherited the plan. He was working in collaboration with Howard Hughes, who apparently used a bunch of females, courtiers, to pretend like they were falling in love with cabal agents when they were going on dates with them, to extract information from them, all which again was all put in this document called the plan. And that's the origin of Q. Okay, it all began with Eisenhower, Commander Valiant Thor, of course, carried forward by JFK Sr., and then now being fully, you could say, executed by Mr. T and the Alliance. Oh, I like this. Martha Crable says, with my humanitarian... Okay, so she's saying that she's going to help the homeless veterans. That's good. Thank you. That's a humanitarian project, helping the homeless veterans. Yeah, that's a good thing. Unfortunately, I don't have any intel regarding Australia, guys. I'm sorry. Australia is like its own island over there. I don't know. They are just so isolated from the rest of the world. Yes, the QFS will be helping everyone, even the homeless. That is so true. Thank you for pointing that out, Overwhelm 25. Ishmael, are acid-backed digital currencies real? Legitimate? Mel Carmen speaks of these. Yes, XRP, XLM, and Ripple, I believe. And what? Yeah, because those digital currencies that I just mentioned, XLM, XRP, are actually backed by gold and silver. Okay, guys? I missed a super chat from Patriot for God, huh? I don't know where it's at. It disappeared. Oh, I'm sure Commander Valiant Thor does know about Australia. Man, Commander Valiant Thor knows about everything. That guy is a true genius. Are we going to have two sons soon? This is a question from Ras Pops. Welcome, Ras Pops. Yeah, because we are expecting the return of Nibiru, which is really the parents, not the parent, but the sibling son of our own star, Nibiru. It's also, in the ancient records, Nibiru was known as the 12th planet. So it is returning, guys. It is returning. How will we get called for the RV centers? This is a question from Trisha Mueller. I have new phone number and new email. Oh, well, they'll know your number. Through Starlink, they track everyone, but not in a bad way, right? The best way to say it is, I believe it's an 800 number that's going to be calling you. And if you don't answer, they'll leave a message for you to call them back.
They're going to find it on certain websites like Restore Republic, and other people are going to be contacted right away because they gave their email as they were buying currency. But she's saying no phone number or anything, so she needs to just look it up through people that have platforms that talk about the RV when it comes out.
I see. Yeah, okay. Yeah. I do have a super chat from Donna Sinclair. Can you please provide more info on Australian political leaders? We have federal election on May the third, love from down under. Um, I don't really know much about Australian political figures, but what I have known about the last or the political leaders that are running Australia are all globalist and they're all evil. That's from what I heard. So I believe that once Trump and the White Hats are done cleaning house in Europe, Australia is next. So Australians out there, don't lose hope. All right, Trump is coming. Trump is coming to Australia to clean house. This is a super chat from Deep Lay. She says, "Keep up the great work. You're much needed and more appreciated." Oh, thank you, sister. Greetings from Germany. Greetings. Welcome from Germany. Welcome, welcome. I'm getting a lot of super chats here. Thank you guys. Patriot for God. Is your pineal gland open? Sometimes it is, but I don't always leave it open because I don't always want to pick up on the collective, thought forms or on other people's thoughts. And so, yeah, when I need to, I open up my pineal gland. That's when I access information. But there's also times where I just need to close it because if I'm in a social setting, I'm going to be picking up on other people's, thought forms, and I don't want to do that. So to answer your question is sometimes it is, sometimes it isn't. All right. No, I don't have any more updates on the med beds, guys. I did a whole live on them last week, and I believe Saturday I kind of touched a little bit on it, but I don't have any more updates than that. But if I do, of course, you guys are going to be the first to know. May's supposed to be rolled out May. Okay, that's next month. Hopefully, I'm crossing my fingers that they roll them out immediately. I don't talk about Canada because I don't know much about Canada, guys. I don't know much about Canada and Australia. Those are the true countries. Well, there's many countries that I don't really know much about. But from what I hear is that Canada is also being run by globalists. It's corrupt. Well, the leadership in Canada, at least. Does anyone ever die? This is a question from John Rucker. Technically, no, because these are just avatars, right? What everyone truly is consciousness, right? You guys are all eternal beings of light. So technically, there is no death. And I do have another super chat from Gustavo Valdez. When will they tell us about the dome above in the land beyond Antarctica? Well, this is the idea of having a dome, what they call a firmament, and the lands beyond Antarctica is actually a flat Earth psyop concept that was initiated by the CIA. But the truth of the matter is that these other continents that have advanced, races are actually coming from the inner Earth. They're coming from inside the Earth. The Earth is actually hollowed, right? The Earth is actually hollowed. It's not flat like a pancake. It's a sphere with inner Earth continents, land masses, oceans, rivers, and an inner sun. So the other advanced civilizations actually come from the inner Earth. But yes, there is an opening through Antarctica. That is correct. Okay, to answer your question. And no, there is no dome in the sky. The moon and the stars and the sun are not fixated within this illusionary dome. The sun is actually 86 million or 1,000 miles away. 86, I believe it's 86,000 miles away. And the moon is outside of the Earth's atmosphere, and the planets and the moon and the planets and the moon are revolving around our star, just like our star is revolving around a greater star. And that's how everything works. Everything is a circle within a circle within a circle. This is a good question from Silver Earth Girl. Who is the Orion group and why did they screw with Earthlings? Well, the Orion, you must be referring to the Orion Negative Syndicate, also known as the NAA, the Negative Alien Agenda. They are a group of a collaboration of Draco Reptilian, Greys, Zeta Reticulans, Zeta from the Rambola system, Zeta Reticula 1 and 2, some insectoids, some mantis, and some AIs that have been working together to exploit and dominate the entire universe. That's who this negative Orion group are, all right? But from what I've heard is that they are now being dealt with by the super soldiers. They are super soldiers. So, yeah, peace is being established throughout the galaxy, all right? The negative Orion Syndicate is no longer going to be doing bad things across the galaxy anymore, or other galaxies. But don't get me wrong, not all Orion groups are evil. There's this thing called the Orion Council of Light, the Orion Confederation of Worlds. So those are good groups, right? They have been at war with the negative Orion Syndicate. See, the difference is this, is that the negative ETs are in service to self, right? They work for the AI god Omega, or what they call their god. The positive ETs are into service to others. They operate under the prime universal law that has been established by Prime Creator Source, and they manage, or they strive to live in cooperation and in harmony with other sentient life forms. So that's what distinguishes the two groups in all of creation: those that are service to self, right, and those that are service to others, which are children of the one God. But technically, they're all children of the one God. Is that what we call the rebellion against the one have separated, created dualistic consciousness, or what we call separative consciousness, and then they became later known as the negative Orion groups. Okay, but the negative Orion groups, again, they all work for the AI god Omega. Okay. Well, somebody's asking, Deb Boyle, it says, we are both service to self and others. Well, as long as you're at least 51% service to others, you're considered good. But the moment you are, it's the opposite of that. The moment you are 51% service to self, then at that point, in terms of a scale, you're tipping towards the dark side, okay? You don't want to be serving the dark side. You want to be at least 51% service to others. Yeah, originally the Orion area was good, but then the Draco Reptilians from the Alpha Draconis and the Rigel system started expanding their empire throughout all of Orion, most of Orion, unfortunately. And a lot of those species that were initially conquered by the Draco Reptilians in Orion, as explained in my book, Our Cosmic Origin in the Galactic History, were actually underdeveloped species, all right? So they were completely mutated, biogenetically engineered to work with the negative Orion Syndicate. I did get another super chat from Portalo F. Wonder. Update on Solar Flash. When will the world know what's going on behind the scenes? That is a good question. We're expecting some sort of a huge blast sometime before summer. We're still in the spring, guys. Spring lasts till June 21st, 2025. So, May is just around the corner.
Can I clarify something about
Sure.
the solar flash?
What about it?
So, right now, the Earth's grid is incredibly unstable due to the dark battling the light. So these opposing forces are kind of causing a tug of war to the Earth.
Mm-hmm.
So we really need to do grid work, and you can do prayer and request Archangel Daniel to help in the transition.
Mm-hmm.
so that we can get the light in bigger bursts, because right now they're just coming in increments, and we can't overly exceed what Mother Earth is capable of doing due to dark frequency fences around it. So really all the anchor points that are here to ground in the new crystalline grid have really got to do double time.
All right,
Just
very well explained. Thank you.
Stabilizing the earth and everything so that she can take on more.
I'm sure you guys heard that. Thank you for that input. It makes a lot of sense. I did get another super chat from David Isington. He says, Gabriel fathered Christ. Mother Mary was Lady Hope. That's true, because Gabriel and Hope are twin flames in the higher realms. Gabriel, divine feminine flame. Yeah, that's true. So not immoral. No. Do you agree, Ishmael? Yes, I do agree that Gabriel did father Christ. Oh, thank you. Much love, he says. So we, the 144,000, Christ returned mother after the EBS. Yes, that is correct, David. Thank you so much for pointing that out, brother. That was very true. Thank you. Thank you. All right, this is a very good question. This is a question from Jackie Baby. Her question is, Ishmael, if the Creator made all beings, why would he make ones that kill the children like the reptilian? Well, the best way to describe that is this. It's like this. The reptilians were once a celestial race that existed in the 11th universe. We're part of the 12th creation. So they were all fell under the control and dominance of the Ahriman, which is the Antichrist, which is the Archon forces, right? The true, the true dark forces. And because they were subdued by the Ahriman and the Archons, they rebelled against God. So God allowed it because we do live in a free will universe, all right? But knowingly, God knew that their time would once come to an end. And now that time is here, right? Their time is up. So that's the best way to answer that. We live in a free will universe. So the Luciferian rebellion, which could have been stopped by God from the get-go, was allowed because of the fact that we live in a free will universe, but only was allowed to exist temporarily. And in the mind of God, that's long cycle, which is what we call billions of years, is only one day. So it's now coming to an end. Thank God. All right, I've been broadcasting for almost an hour and 30 minutes. I'm going to take one more question, guys. One more question. Let's see. What question should I take? Well, yeah, Archangel Daniel is one of the watchers.
He helps with the transition of planet Earth, as well as, us bridging the gap to 5D. And he's also there for doing grid work.
Did you guys hear that? That he's helping with the transition of planet Earth, and he's also bridging the gap between us and 5D, and he's helping with the grid work. So he is known as an archangel that is at the head of the watchers, those that are supposed to watch the Earth.
He works with them.
So he works with the watchers. That is so true. Thank you for addressing that. Christina Nardasi saying, Ishmael, does the Schumann resonance affect all of us or just the people ready to ascend in the fifth dimension? It is affecting everything, not just those that are ready to ascend. Good question, Christina. One more question then. Tell your girlfriend thank you. This is from Wes Acton. He's thanking you for answering that question. All right, so let's see. When will the world know what is happening behind the scenes? Please, Ishmael, thank you. Well, from what I was told is that 2025 is the year of disclosure. So again, we're only 4 months into it, I say we're probably going to have a summer of revelations or apocalypse, which is the true meaning of revelation, a disclosure of a lot of information that was withheld from the public. All right, guys, with that in mind, may the God force be with you all. And I hope you guys have a beautiful rest of your evening. And I will see you guys on Wednesday for another update.